Okay, so yeah, please start by introducing yourself and your question.
Okay, my heart is beating because I've never been in a room with so many phenomenal women at one time. So I'm like, okay, you know what, calm myself down. All right, so my name is Dean Williams. I'm the Senior Business Manager at Goldsmith University. I paused for a round of applause, but it didn't come because it's fine. It's all right, it's all right, it's all right.
That was my university.
No, but on a real, Goldsmith is now, I can actually say it now, are about to launch their first ever Women Entrepreneur Centre. So it's going to be focused on building up women and their business and everything else. And I'm so happy to be one of the pioneers for this. But it's a two-part question. So the first question is, what would you say are the three biggest challenges for women going from micro to small businesses? And then what would you say should be three things Goldsmith should be implementing to ensure that we can support these businesses efficiently?
I can take that first. Good to see you, Dean.
Good to see you.
I'd say two things: operating model and business model. So when you're a micro business and everything's a bit kind of all over the place, but it works because you're able to, deliver the kind of small batches of whatever you're doing to a relatively small audience. As soon as you're thinking about any kind of scale, you need to think about structuring. The first element of structuring is your business model. It's making sure that you have some kind of standardized or repeatable process for defining what your products are, pricing them correctly, and then reaching out to people who might buy it. And that can be really daunting for a lot of people that don't have that background, but there's just so much free stuff and simple stuff out there that can help structure that thinking. And then you're only going to be able to meet your customers' needs by having a stronger operating model. And so one challenge I find in a lot of the founders that come to us who are early stage is that perhaps because they haven't spent time in larger organizations where they can kind of see the mechanics and the workings of an organization, they don't really kind of get building out the operating model. So how am I going to recruit the right people? How am I going to make sure that we are kind of tax compliant? How am I going to make sure that we have a kind of a structured approach to how we do things day to day? And they make bad mistakes. They take out personal loans, for example, that look really messy on their accounts later. They hire volunteers, but they don't treat those volunteers like employees who are working without remuneration. And instead, it's like a friend who's helping out and there's not kind of a contract in place. And I think there are just lots of little mistakes that people make that could easily be kind of coached or supported. So I'd say just kind of, it doesn't need to be like a kind of full-on program, but really structured support to help them think through those kind of early decisions you need to make that will come back to bite you later when you're going from micro to small.
Thank you.
I would say what we really talk about now is it's all about collaboration. So we've got a number of products, a number of free products that entrepreneurs can use to help. So would like to have the opportunity to have the conversation about how we could team and collaborate on a lot of these things together. But I think it's that mind shift from working in the business to on the business. And I think that what you talked about is it was the operational because it's a change in how they need to start working on their business. And so I think with the frameworks that a lot of the corporations or organizations have that can help and assist a lot of the entrepreneurs get to that shift and how we can team together to do that. It's a collaborative effort because then you're going to need people or organizations to buy those particular products and you want to have those relationships in place.
I think I'll just go to your last question. Is it what are the kind of three things that you kind of would want in place?
Yeah, what should Goldsmith have in place to ensure that we can actually support these businesses efficiently?
Yeah, I think the overall program, but I know you're going to kind of put that together, Dean. But I think also just that representation, that real cross representation. It's a women's organisation. I've been on women's sort of accelerators, and it's a lot of white men or just a lot of men that are kind of, talking to me. So just having that representation of a diverse, good advisors, but also, Teresa talked about it before, about having those mentors, about having those coaches, about having those people that are kind of going to, guide you through the process. And I guess that theory of change as well, and having that entrepreneur, that female entrepreneur, understand what that theory of change is going to be. So once I get onto your program, what is it that I'm going to get out at the end? Yeah, is it going to be increase in sales? Is it going to be better productivity? Map my journey as well as having all the components for my development through the business. I really want to be able to see what I'm aiming for and what my goals are at the end.
I think it has to be clear on what the end game is. I think you make a good point, because in a number of the different programs that we run through EY, a lot of it is about that assessment at the first, because there's going to be a number of things, but what's those crucial things that are going to help them grow or develop that. And I think one of the things too is what we're getting away from is not really focus on the curriculum or that business functional. It's how do they get to the growth? How do they get the connections to build or to help their product, somebody buy their product or service? But the growth and really the understanding of what it is around finance and what type of finance they need. Because I think there's confusion on what it is and what's available to them.
Thank you. I think we have one more question left that we're able to ask. How about you in the front? I'm sorry.
Thank you. Thank you, whoever said they didn't want to go, so I could. Just a quick one. So my name is Remy Ray. I have a CIC called the Diverse Creative CIC, and what we do is support disabled entrepreneurs to start businesses or to begin the journey in via a considered lens. So I'm dyslexic. I've struggled my way through entrepreneurship because when I started 10 years ago, 15 years ago, it wasn't as trendy as it is now to run a business. And so I wanted to give back and support others who may have similar struggles as me to begin their journeys, especially with the fact that they're more likely to be unemployed because of the differences and the struggles that they have. So my question was actually to you, Izzy, because I just want to understand a little bit more about how you're navigating your relationships with funders and clients. I heard you say clients. And I wonder if our experiences are similar. So we've just been funded for 3 years to support disabled entrepreneurs with quite a big funder. And the experience that I'm having seems very like I'm being policed, and I'm struggling to manage that because I'm a creative, I'm dyslexic, so I also operate in quite a different way. I do have a team and things of that nature, but I'm really struggling because I'm like, you're kind of holding me back from doing this good work, this really important work, because you're worried about maybe £20. And I'm not misusing funds or anything like that. I'm using the funds as intended, but I really struggle with this relationship with these grant officers and these people that have never run businesses, actually. I probably said too much there, but yeah, anything you have, I'll take.
I think that, firstly, amazing work. I know what you do, amazing work. And the first thing I'd say is that when you're starting out, you often find this parent-child dynamic between funders and small social enterprises, organizations. And it takes a lot of confidence in your own leadership journey to reestablish it into an adult relationship. And I remember early on just this kind of like, I'm grateful for your £10,000 and I'm going to fill in all 16 of these forms you send me quarterly because of it. And, you just have to do what you've got to do. And it gets to a point where you kind of realize that, and I am speaking way too freely here, but particularly kind of government funded. Oh my gosh. The process is not designed for you. It's nothing about you. You are simply a vehicle to the numbers they need to report, we really struggled working with some funders who would never attend any of our programs, never attend the accelerators, didn't really need to know anything apart from what we were putting on that report so they can say, this is ticked off, you did the black thing, you did the disabled thing, and then, everyone goes home. I think re-establishing that is so important, and we've fed back to funders like Innovate UK and other kind of government bodies about the process that stops people applying in the first place. Two, makes it incredibly difficult, complicated. I think we were actually on a call about it where we were giving advice about how to make it less onerous on businesses to apply for funding. The reality is that it's not really gonna change. The most we can do, I think, as a community is educate each other, support each other. I think we've both been development partners for Unlimited, for example, like offering application advice, support for organizations who are applying, because we recognize how hard it is. And sometimes you think, oh, maybe I should bring a grant writer on who knows this kind of stuff, and then you get disappointed because they don't really know the intricacies of your organization enough. And so it's not necessarily the kind of like perfect answer, but I think what you'll find in your journey, and I absolutely know you will, is that you become more comfortable jumping through the hoops, and you also become more comfortable pushing back on the things that you want to push back on. So I'm not going to fill in this form quarterly at this specific time, which takes me away from meeting the needs of my beneficiaries. Instead, you may be able to renegotiate that so it's biannually or something like that. But by and large, it is what it is unless we change it or encourage them to change it.
So just to add just lastly onto that, so as Izzy said, I mean, there are coming through. So when I mentioned about social investment warehouses, there's one that's just come on board, which is the Pathways Fund, and it's the only sort of Black and diverse, I guess, led organisation. But even myself, my organisation, we've just gotten funding to diversify the advisor market, and we're just rolling out the pilot for that right now. But what that means is what we're trying to do is we're trying to manage your expectations. And in terms of managing those expectations, it is about the funders just want to know what you spent the money on. And yes, they want to know where that £20 went. And yes, it's bureaucratic, but we want to be able to be that bridge to be able to say, yes, they're going to ask for that, but let's look at it in this way. Let's look at it a little bit, not even from their point of view, but let's just be that bridge, and let's just get over that hump and manage expectations from both sides. We will add to that, like Izzy said, we'll be sitting in those rooms and we'll be saying, look, you need to change your language. You need to stop all this bureaucratic. We'll be doing all it is we can for you, but it is also our responsibility, because you mentioned it, it is finance. Finance is the bottom line. It is what they think about. And so we need, as advisors, as consultants, as those intermediaries who sit in between the two, to be able to reach out to you, to be able to say, okay, look, this is what is going to really happen, and so that you can be prepared for it. Because it can be quite traumatizing, it can be quite, onerous, and it can be like, just keep your money. But that's to the detriment of your beneficiaries at the end of the day. So, yeah. Yes, but have people that around you that are kind of fighting against this and supporting you against this, and give us the language to go and tell the funders as well, because we're always going to be saying the similar thing. But if we can turn around and say, listen, we were talking to somebody at this event the other day, and this is what they said, and this is the hindrance, and we can keep building up on that evidence, then, at some point, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to change that policy. Yeah.
A massive thank you to Izzy, JC, and Teresa. I really wish we could answer more questions, but a massive thank you.